My brothers and sisters, what is going on? Steel Sermon in the house Tuesday night with another video for you guys. And as always, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Instagram and on Twitter. Links are posted in the box below. This NFL season, man, so unpredictable, so many upsets. I just don't understand it. 8-8 this week after a 12-4 week in week 4. I just can't find any consistency this season. This is by far the worst season that I've had in Pick'em, and I don't know when it's going to stop. But I need to have consistently good weeks, and it just has not happened. And looking at the slate of games for this week, it doesn't look like it's going to get any easier. So that's why I really took some time into consideration with my picks. And we're going to get on to it. But as always, I'm going to start with my biggest winner and biggest loser for Week 5. And my biggest winner for Week 5 once again goes out to Big Blue, the New York Football Giants. Man, the Giants, they look legit. They're 4-1. They're playing incredibly tough, and they're finding ways to get wins. I mean, a lot of people are saying, this is the worst 4-1 team of all time. But you know what? As long as they find ways to win games and as long as they execute, that's all that matters. The only stat that I care about are W's. And that's how Giants fans should. Going overseas to play the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers, who are one of the elite teams in the league, and they rally from a 14-point deficit to get the job done. Saquon Barkley once again going off, and Daniel Jones having an okay game again. I think Brian DeBall deserves a lot of credit for what he's doing to this young group of Giants players, and that's why the Giants are in the position that they're in right now. New York Giants, my biggest winner for Week 5, and they're 4-1. Philly and Dallas also won, and they're 5-0 and 4-1 respectively. Giants are right there in that stacked NFC East right there. So yeah, once again, the Big Blue Giants are my biggest winner for the week. My biggest loser. This one was tough to determine, but after thinking about it, my biggest loser is Zach Taylor for the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, you had the Ravens beat in that game, and you do the same conservative offensive play calling over and over again. I mean, what is going on with Zach Taylor? I mean, it looked like the Bengals had, they looked like they had it figured out, and I picked the Bengals to win Sunday night, but Zach Taylor once again showing why that he did not deserve Coach of the Year, and he rightfully did not win it. I mean, the play calling from him and the decisions that he made were incredibly questionable, especially with that 4th and goal right there, and his boneheadedness cost the Bengals another game this year. This is at least the second game that Zach Taylor has cost Cincinnati this season. If I'm a Bengal fan, I would be incredibly disappointed with Zach Taylor so far. So yeah, Zach Taylor, he's my biggest loser for Week 5. And as always, in the tournament, I'm going to run it down real quick. You do not need score predictions for every single game, just for your spread prediction. Also, if you're looking to join the tournament, I have slots open because I had to boot another person. So if you want to join the tournament, just hit me down in the comments and I'll put you right in. But yeah, these are my Week 6 picks of the 2022 NFL season. Let's get on to it. And if you thought last Thursday was bad, wait till you get a load of this one, as we have the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears Thursday night in Chicago. And this is already my toilet bowl of the week. Yeah, I mean, last Thursday was horrible enough, but now we get two more awful teams going at it. Washington is really bad. They honestly look like the worst team in the league right now. And the Bears, I mean, they really ain't much better. I mean, Chicago just has no continuity with their team at all, and they're just being carried once again by the defense. Although the Bears, they're getting some kind of fight with them, and they're showing some resilience. I mean, I just don't know what to make of the Bears this year. They just, look like another underdeveloped team. But going up against Washington, I mean, I just don't buy into Washington at all. They've been a letdown, and their offense has been a major disappointment. I don't know what they're doing at quarterback. If Carson Wentz is still going to start for them, he's just not the guy. So I really don't give a crap who wins this game, so I'm just going to go with the Bears just for a shot in the dark here. Give me the Chicago Bears to win the absolute toilet bowl of the week and has a real good chance of being the worst Thursday night game of all time. So yeah, give me Chicago, I guess. I don't know. Okay, kicking off the Sunday slate of games. First at bat, we got the San Francisco 49ers going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. There is a very big part of me that wants to pick Atlanta here because the Falcons have played incredibly tough in all their games so far this year, and they're 2-3, and they honestly could be first place in the NFC South. They honestly could be undefeated, but remember, it's just the Falcons. It's what they do. They let their fans down over and over and over again. And they're going up against a 49er team that just looks for real. I mean, their defense is real good. Run game looks prominent. Jimmy Garoppolo still winning them games. And I just think the 49ers just have all the intangibles to be, an elite team in this league. And I think that that's going to continue. I'm going to go with the 49ers to win this game. I just think that they're head and shoulders a better team than Atlanta is. And I think this will be the first bad game Atlanta has. I think the 49ers are going to take this one. I just think their run game is too much for Atlanta. I think their defense is going to be able to stop Atlanta here rather easily. I'm going to go with the 49ers to get the better of Atlanta. Now we got the New England Patriots heading to Cleveland to play the Browns in what should be an interesting matchup. Both squads are 2-3. As the Patriots, they shut down the Detroit Lions 29-0. Bailey Zappi, that's who the quarterback is for New England right now. Didn't play great, but he managed the game pretty well for New England. I mean, that's kind of what you expect from a third-string backup. So, yeah, I mean, New England got it done with defense and a strong run game, and they are 2-3. Meanwhile, the Cleveland Browns do what they do best, which is punch their fans right in the gut and rip their heart out. They had LA beat. They had a double-digit lead on them, and they promptly blew it because Kevin Stefanski does not know how to play call. He just refuses to use Nick Chubb for whatever reason. I just don't know what the deal is with Kevin Stefanski. You have the best running back in the game in the backfield right there. All you have to do is make Jacoby Brissett a game manager and hand it off to 24. Plain and simple. So the Browns are 2-3. They blew it to the Chargers. Cade York missing the field goal as time expired in the game, and the Browns are 2-3. This one took me a little bit to think about. On one hand, I think Cleveland has the offense that can keep them in here, and I think that their offense is more than capable of winning them games. But it's just that I don't trust Cleveland's defense. I don't like Joe Woods' defensive scheme for Cleveland, and I think that's going to be the ultimate downfall for the Browns. New England is the total opposite. I do not like their offense at all outside of their run game, but their defense looks legit. Their defense still is real strong. And I think with them going up against a guy who Belichick knows in Jacoby Brissett because he coached him and he was a backup with Tom Brady, if you remember in that 2016 season, I think Belichick knows Jacoby Brissett here, and I think that's your biggest X factor for this game and your biggest takeaway. Belichick, I think he's going to game plan real well. I think he's going to get the defense in shape here. And I think the Patriots go into Cleveland and knock off the Browns. I'm going to go New England here to get the job done over the Browns and get back to 500. So, yeah, at the end of the day, I think New England's run game is going to be too much for Cleveland. I think their defense steps up here. I'm going to go Patriots over the Browns. Next up, we got the New York Jets and the Green Bay Packers. This one is back in the States. As you remember, the Packers were the home team in London last week against the Giants, but now they're back at Lambeau taking on the New York Jets. Honestly, I would not sleep on the Jets. The Jets look like a very improved team. They absolutely waxed Miami 40-17. I know they were missing two in that game and Bridgewater got roughed up, but still the Jets, they look like they could be a solid team this year. They're playing pretty well on both sides of the ball so far, and if I'm a Jets fan, I'd be excited for this team so far. They look like that they're improving. Then you got the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay's 3-2 as well, but I'm not impressed with Green Bay. I haven't been impressed with them all season so far. They got destroyed in week 1 by Minnesota. They beat the Bears in week 2, but they always beat Chicago. They beat Tampa in week 3, but they didn't really do anything special against Tampa. Then they barely got by New England in week 4, and then they got upset at home last week by the Giants. Green Bay just does not look good this year, in my opinion. That's just what I think. It's honestly going to be hard for me to say if I can see Green Bay winning the North this year, because I think Minnesota's better than them right now. And honestly, obviously it's only been a quarter of the season and anything can happen. But I'd be lying to you. I think while Green Bay's defense is playing well, their offense has just been very meh this year, man. And I think the Jets can take advantage of that. But at the end of the day, it is Aaron Rodgers at Lambeau. The Packers do not lose in Lambeau. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers. But I would not be surprised if the Jets make this game closer than you think. I think New York can make this a close game. I think Robert Saleh is the guy for the Jets. He manages this defense real well. And I think the Jets are going to give Green Bay a good game here. But I got Green Bay pulling out just because I think they're the more established team. And the Jets, this is just kind of like a growing pain for them. I'm going to go Green Bay here to go to 4-2. All right, next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts. This one is in Indy as the Jags losing to Houston 13-6. I don't know what the deal with that is, but, it's funny. I finally give the Jags some credit, and they pull that crap against Houston of all teams. So, yeah, maybe that win against the Chargers was a fluke, and maybe Philly just underestimated them. But, Jacksonville, you got some explaining to do. Indianapolis, winning the most laughable Thursday night game of all time so far, 12-9 over the Broncos, a game that did not feature a single touchdown on offense by either team. That is just mind-blowing. And Indianapolis is 2-1 so far. If this game was in Jacksonville, I would pick the Jags easily, but it looks like the Colts are starting to play well. Their defense is starting to get together, and I think Jonathan Taylor is starting to improve a little bit. Jacksonville, I really wanted to go with the Jags here to get the sweep of the Colts, but this is a home-dominated series. Obviously, we all know the Jags own the Colts in Jacksonville, but when it's in Indianapolis, it's pretty much the other way around. So I'm going to go with the Colts to avoid the sweep and get a third straight win and go to 3-2-1. I just think that Indy is going to remember how Jacksonville embarrassed them, and I think that they are going to get revenge and get the split of the Jags. I just think sweeping them seems ambitious, so I'm going to go with Indianapolis to get the job done over Jacksonville. Well, we got what could have been the game of the week a couple weeks ago, but I'm not so sure right now. Minnesota Vikings and the Miami Dolphins. This one is in South Beach as the Vikings are 4-1, sitting on top the NFC North. Miami is 3-2. They have lost 2 consecutive games. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater being injured in that game doesn't help. I don't know what the status of him is, so I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see. But Miami, they're still 3-2. They're still playing strong. They still got a lot of firepower on that offense there with the receiving core. But I don't know. Minnesota's just been very quietly dominating this year. I mean, they're 4-1, but no one's really talking about them a whole lot, you know? I think Minnesota just has all the firepower necessary to be a great offensive team this year, and they're playing like it. I like how Minnesota's playing. I think that their defense still could use a little bit of work, but still, I like the position the Vikings are headed. They are headed in the right position. They are going the right direction. And I think Minnesota goes down to Miami and they hand the Dolphins a third straight loss. I just think the Dolphins are too banged up right now. They have an uncertain future with their quarterback situation going on. And I think that's your biggest difference. Minnesota just seems like the more established team right now. And I'm going to go with the Vikings to get the job done over the Dolphins here in a tight one. But I'm going to go Minnesota here. All right, we got now the Cincinnati Bengals and the New Orleans Saints. This one is down in New Orleans. As the Bengals, as I said about 15 minutes ago, a very inexcusable loss to the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday night. They're 2-3 on the year. The Saints, I believe, are also 2-3, coming off a shootout win over the Seattle Seahawks, where former Bengal Andy Dalton had a really good game against the Seahawks. And I think that this is going to be an interesting show. Andy Dalton going up against his former team. I think this is the first time that he's gone up against his former club. And, yeah, I mean, I know Andy Dalton has to be licking his chops a little bit, but this Bengals team, I mean, they had the game won, but their idiot head coach blew it for him again. I would not sleep on New Orleans' offense. They look like that they have that offense that can be productive and they can get the job done. But Cincinnati, I mean, they're just a different animal when it comes to their offense. But I have to say, New Orleans' defense has been a letdown so far. I don't know how the Saints are going to be able to limit Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. And stop Joe Mixon. I mean, they've just been a letdown this year. I was high on the Saints defense coming in this year, and they just have disappointed. Cincinnati, it looks like they're starting to get back into a little bit of a click, but, you know, they just lack consistency all around with their coaching. But I think if there's a bounce-back game candidate for the Bengals, I think this is the one to do it, and I think the Bengals will go down into New Orleans and get the job done over the Saints. So, yeah, give me the Bengals to knock off the Saints in New Orleans. Very interesting one right here. Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. This one is at MetLife. Baltimore's 3-2, sitting on top of the AFC North, while the Giants are 4-1. 4-1 New York Giants, third place in the NFC East. What to say for this one? Well, as always, Lamar Jackson is leading the way for the Ravens. He has been the anchor for the offense, and he is going to make the Ravens pay for him. Plain and simple. He ain't playing in a contract year, so he can get paid. He's trying to prove a point to the franchise. And so far, so good. That being said, Baltimore's defense still very suspect. They let up a potential game-winning touchdown to the Bengals, but they scored way too early. Another mistake by Zach Taylor that I forgot to mention. They gave Lamar way over 2 minutes to drive down the field and set up a game winner for Justin Tucker. You just don't do that. You don't leave the Ravens that much time. Big mistake on Cincinnati's end. As for their opponent, the New York Giants, they are playing incredibly tough football this year. Their defense is starting to look better. They're capitalizing, and they've just been a resilient bunch this year. Outside of guys like Kadarius Toney and Kenny Golladay, the Giants are just executing. They're getting it done with the run game more specifically. Daniel Jones has a couple rushing touchdowns on the year. Saquon Barkley has been the biggest difference maker for this team. And in my eyes, he has to be a candidate for Comeback Player of the Year. Like I said, Brian Daboll, I think he deserves a lot of credit for how much improved that this Giants team looks so far. And I don't think the Giants are great. I don't think that they're elite. But I do think that they're a very scrappy bunch, and they are going to give a lot of teams some problems this year. And I really do think they can give the Ravens some problems as well. I think they're going to remember the last time they played, which Daniel Jones was hurt against the Ravens, and Joe Judge was still their head coach. But Baltimore, I mean, it's just hard to bet against them, man. The Ravens, they are still a solid team, and Lamar Jackson is doing everything he can. This is a matchup between an MVP candidate and a comeback player of the year candidate, and I think something has to give. But something that I noticed with the Ravens, it's been win, loss, win, loss, win for them so far this year. So they've alternated, and guess what, guys? I think the alternation continues. My upset of the week, I'm going with the New York Football Giants to get the job done over the Ravens and pull off another upset. That's right, baby. I'm going upset once again with the Giants. I just really like how the Giants are playing. They really look like a much improved team, and I think when December hits, the Giants are still going to be in there for the playoff picture. They're 4-1 right now. They're playing well. I think Brian DeBall knows what he's doing, and I think he's revitalized Saquon Barkley's career, and he's starting to fix up Daniel Jones a little bit. This guy's a really good offensive-minded coach, and with Baltimore's suspect defense, I just don't think that the Ravens are going to be able to stop Saquon Barkley. Their rush defense has not looked good. Baltimore's defense in general just hasn't looked good, but I think Saquon Barkley is going to have a solid game here. I'm going to go with the New York Giants for the upset of the week to improve to 5-1. Oh boy, the game that I've been dreading. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. This is my game. Tampa Bay, 3-2 on the year, leading the NFC South, getting job done over Atlanta. Bogus roughing the passer call on Tom Brady, but, you know, that just is what it is. Meanwhile, we're 1-4. Off to our worst record through 5 games since 2019. And also in that 2019 season, we took an L to Tom Brady. I mean, really all I got to say for this game is that Tom Brady just owns us. He always has. He's only lost to the Steelers, 3 times? 3 times I can remember. Big Ben's rookie year in 2004, 2011, and then 2018. Those are the only 3 times that I remember the Steelers have beaten Tom Brady. I mean, sure, Tom Brady has not looked like himself this year, and Tampa Bay's offense just has been a big disappointment so far. But really, their offense, their lack of offense isn't a concern for this game. Why? Because their defense is going to do more than enough to keep them in this game. Our offense is worse. And I'll even go as far to say we have the worst offense in the league. I know Kenny Pickett's a rookie. I know that Najee Harris is in his second year. But Kenny Pickett, he needs to be able to understand what he is and is not capable of doing as a quarterback. And I saw a guy on Sunday who did his best to keep the offense in the game, and he was trying everything to get some kind of offensive cohesion going, and I applaud him for his effort. And I'm not putting any blame on Kenny Pickett, but that interception that he threw, I just hope he doesn't do that again, because a throw like that is an example of what he's incapable of doing as a quarterback. He can't miss a read like that. He can't poorly make a read like that again. And that's just all there is to it. I'm not criticizing him. I'm just saying that throw just can't happen. And Najee Harris, I mean, I'm going to start to criticize him a little bit. I like Najee Harris. I think he works incredibly hard. I think that he's a great team player. And I like his attitude of being here. And I know it's very easy to say, well, the run blocking stinks for Najee Harris. That's true too. But when the run blocking does give him a very rare hole to run through, Najee's missing him. And he's just not seeing him. And if I continue to see this with Najee, I'm going to really start to get vocal with him because I'm taking the training wheels off of him right now because he's a second-year starter. He has been in the league long enough to know that he needs to be able to not miss these holes and get some production in and maybe change his style a little bit. George Pickens needs to keep doing what he's doing. And these receivers in general, I mean, these receivers are just very inconsistent this year, more specifically with Deontay Johnson. We didn't pay Deontay Johnson all that money to be Jekyll and Hyde with his receptions. We paid him all that money so that way he can take the next step and work his way to being a number one receiver on this team. And Deontay Johnson's just been incredibly disappointing so far. Defense. This is the most expensive defense in the league, and I'm sitting there every Sunday watching this defense just get shredded. They let Gabe Davis, Buffalo's second receiver, just absolutely torch them all afternoon. He had touchdown receptions of 98 and 62. That is just wow. And again, I know TJ Watt's hurt. I know his recovery is going to be pushed back because of the knee surgery. But it doesn't matter. There needs to be a next man up, and this team just does not have a next man up. So, we have the worst record in the AFC. That's right. We have the worst record in the AFC at 1-4. And you know what? We play like we have the worst record in the AFC. I just don't see any improvement. I don't know if Kenny Pickett is going to be ready to face this defense. And like I said, I feel for the guy because he thinks that this is all his fault when it's not really his fault. He has very little to do with it. And, you know, like Ryan Clark said, I mean, I made another video about Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark said Kenny Pickett's the only guy that he would take if he's going to go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I agree with him. No one on this team cares. This team just gives up. They don't try. They get in a deficit and they panic. They don't try to come back from it. And going up against their consistent boogeyman and Tom Brady and against that Buccaneer defense, I just don't see how improvements are made, which is why I really hate to do this. Tampa Bay is my lock of the week. That's right. I've never done this with the Steelers and Pick'em. I've never made our opponent be my lock of the week until now. Just too much going on for us. We're playing Tom Brady. We never beat Tom Brady. And we're going up against one of the best defenses in the league with a rookie quarterback. So do the arithmetic. Bucs are favored by 8 for this game, so we're not as bad of an underdog as we were against Buffalo, but still being 8-point underdogs is pretty big. But I'm going to go with Tampa Bay to get the job done over us and drop us to 0-3 at home. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just another team that people expect to go to the Super Bowl against a team that should be rebuilding. So I'm going to go Tampa Bay to beat us. More in my preview with this game. Next at bat are the later slate of games as we got the Carolina Panthers and the Los Angeles Rams in LA. Carolina, they are looking real bad as well. They're 1-4. They just fired Matt Rule earlier today. While the Rams, they are not looking so well either. They're 2-3, and they got beat up at home by the Dallas Cowboys. This is just a battle of two bad teams right here. Rams are favored by 10 as I'm recording this video. Carolina, I think firing their head coach really isn't going to help a whole lot because Carolina just has no rhythm and consistency with their offense at all. Baker Mayfield's injured, so I think they're going to be going with Sam Darnold for this game. That is just not good for Carolina, to say the least. As for the LA Rams, I mean, they just have no chemistry going on whatsoever. You want to talk about a Super Bowl hangover? Here you go. LA is suffering from it officially. So what do the Rams have to do in order to get out of this funk that they're in? Well, I think that Matthew Stafford has to find consistency, and I think that these receivers need to step up, and their defense needs to stop exposing the holes, because LA's pass defense and their rush defense has just been getting manhandled all recently. And we saw it on that Monday night game against the 49ers. Another big problem with the Rams is that they are really missing their veteranship and their leadership they had when Whitworth was there on the offensive line. And it's showing. Their O-line has just been getting clobbered so far. But Carolina, they don't really have that much of a pass rush. I don't think they got to worry about this one. And I think LA snaps their losing streak here to get back on the winning ways. So I'm going to go with the Rams to get the job done over the Panthers to get back to 500. Next up, we got the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. This one is up in Seattle as the Cardinals nearly upset the Eagles. They were down by 14 of them at one point. Arizona fought back, and they actually tied the game at 17. Philly kicked a field goal. Arizona had a chance to put it into overtime, but they missed a field goal. And the Cardinals are sitting at 2-3. And then for the Seahawks, they're also 2-3. They lost a shootout to the Saints, so Seattle can score some points. It looks like that they are better off on offense than I think. I mean, Brashad Penny, like I said, he has to be the anchor for that Seattle offense, and they got to utilize him to the best that they can. And it looks like that's what they're doing. I mean, Seattle looks like they can be in better shape even without Russell Wilson in the mix now. But it's just that their defense and the lack of consistency they have with play calling is going to doom them. As for the Arizona Cardinals, their offense is still real good, but man, their pass defense has just been getting destroyed so far. And I think that if you're not careful with that, Seattle can have another strong day on offense. So, this one was another difficult one for me, but I believe DeAndre Hopkins is coming back for the Cardinals for this game, and I expect him to look rusty, but, you got to figure Kyler Murray's going to be aiming for him all day, and I think that's my biggest takeaway for this one. I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals to go up to Seattle and beat the Seahawks. Arizona usually plays well in Seattle. That's another thing. The Cardinals are one of the teams that have always given the Seahawks problems in Seattle. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals to get the job done over the Seahawks here. We got possibly the game of the week right here, and I think it will be. We got a rematch of last year's AFC Divisional between the Buffalo Bills at 4-1 taking on the 4-1 Kansas City Chiefs. Battle of two division leaders going on. Battle of two AFC heavyweights and powerhouses. And battle of two Super Bowl contenders. So, where do I start with this one? I'll start with the Buffalo Bills, who absolutely just shanked us on Sunday 38-3. Josh Allen is playing like an MVP, and I think at this point he has my vote for being MVP. He has so much to work with at his disposal, and it starts with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis now. Any Steeler fan should know that name if they saw the game Sunday. They don't really have to utilize their run game a whole lot because they're just gonna score at will. Josh Allen's just gonna throw laser cannons and bombs down the middle, and it's just Kansas City's pass defense with how they barely got by with Vegas. I just don't think that that's going to be a favorable matchup for Kansas City. Plain and simple, man. I think the Chiefs are at a huge disadvantage for this game. Buffalo on defense, they're no slouches either. Buffalo can generate the pressure. I know that they were missing some starters going into last week, but with the way they manhandled us and the way that their starters were able to get some rest going in this game, that is a massive W for Buffalo. Bills also have revenge on the mind as well from getting their hearts broken by Kansas City with the infamous 13 seconds. As for the Chiefs, they are still playing well. They are 4-1. Travis Kelce had a monster game with 4 receiving touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes had his largest regular season deficit comeback win from 17 points down against Vegas. But I'm telling you this right now, as impressive as that comeback was, You get down 17 to Buffalo, you ain't coming back from that one. As a matter of fact, we've shown that it's the other way around. If Buffalo gets down 17 points, they can come back and win. And they did that against the Ravens. So overall, I just think the Bills are just a well more constructed team than Kansas City is. Not that Kansas City isn't, but they're just missing that firepower they had with Tyreek Hill, and they just have a suspect defense coming into this game. And with the way that Josh Allen's been slinging it and the way that Buffalo's firepower with the skill players have been going, I think that is the biggest X factor for this one. I know Patrick Mahomes is incredibly difficult to beat in Kansas City, but guess what, guys? I am a believer for this one. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills to continue their red-hot streak. I think they are ready to take down the Kansas City Chiefs and improve to 5-1. That's right, guys. I'm a believer coming into this one, man. You know, at the end of the day, like I said, Buffalo, they got the defense that can stop Kansas City. You know, Juju Smith-Schuster, credit to him. He's been playing pretty well since he joined the Chiefs, but as long as they can put a couple of guys on Travis Kelce, don't got to worry about covering Tyreek Hill no more because he's down in Miami now. I just think Buffalo just has everything going for them in this game with their a lot of their guys that were injured that are coming back for this game. This Buffalo team is legit. They are a Super Bowl contender, and I think they're ready to go to Kansas City and get the job done over the Chiefs. And this is also my point spread of the week. Bills are favored by 2.5 for this game, I believe. As I record, they're favored by 2. I'm sorry, not 2.5. They're favored by 2. I think Buffalo covers, and they win by a touchdown here. Give me the Bills to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs in a fantastic game in Arrowhead. Then we got Sunday Night Football. Check your local listings. It's the annual Cowboys and Eagles game on Sunday Night Football once again. The Dallas Cowboys, but this will be a good game. Dallas is 4-1. Philly is 5-0. Battle of two teams that absolutely despise one another. So, the story with the Dallas Cowboys. Cooper Rush is winning them games. Tony Pollard is going off in the backfield, proving to be the ultimate X factor for the Dallas Cowboys. And their defense is looking legit. Dallas has one of the best defenses in the league. And going into Philly, taking on a team that loves to run the ball and loves to be a dual threat like Jalen Hurts, I think that they are going to challenge Jalen Hurts big time here, especially with Micah Parsons. You know, Philly, they can run the ball well. Jalen Hurts is starting to spread the ball out more. And I think Philly can also play defense rather well as well. I mean, I don't see a thing wrong with Philly's defense. I think this is going to be a great defensive game. Not a whole lot of points being put on the board. But I will say, I mean, in a way, it's a battle of two undefeateds as well because Cooper Rush is undefeated as a starter. However, I think that the biggest advantage for this game goes to Philadelphia, and that is that they just know how to distribute the ball better than the Cowboys do, because really all Cooper Rush has to do is rely on the backfield for him to win the game. Jalen Hurts has much more at his disposal. He's got a young group of receivers that they're high on. He's got a good O-line with him. And he has a great complement in the backfield in Miles Sanders. I think that is the biggest X factor for this one. I think both defenses are pretty even for this one. But if you look at it in a perspective, I just think Philly is the more constructed team here. So, I think Cooper Rush gets his first loss as a starter here, and Philly remains undefeated. I'm going to go with the Eagles to win a close one over the Dallas Cowboys, a defensive affair in this one. Give me the Eagles to knock off the Cowboys. Wrapping up Week 6. I don't know why this team continues to be on prime time. We got the Chargers and the Broncos in Mile High. So before I say anything, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. So I know I have a couple Bronco fans on my channel. Denver Broncos, you guys are trash. You're hideous. You're gross. Russell Wilson is looking cooked. It was a mistake to bring him there. I knew from the beginning that he wasn't going to patch up all your problems. Your defense has been exposed. Your run game is non-existent. And your head coach belongs in a friggin' mental asylum. Nathaniel Hackett is probably the dumbest head coach I've ever seen in my life. That guy benefited from Aaron Rodgers when he was up in Green Bay, and it is blatantly obvious. This guy cannot play call. He cannot game plan. He cannot get his team together. He cannot call timeouts. He has no fundamental abilities whatsoever, and he is just a complete disgrace to this league. Why the NFL keeps putting in the Denver Broncos on primetime is beyond me. Denver, in short, you're overhyped garbage. And even with Vegas being 1-4, I still think you'll finish last. In the AFC West, because let me put it to you like this: Vegas is just off to a rough start, but they have a lot of talent on that team that can play as advertised. The Raiders just need to find a way to get it together. Denver, on the other hand, they're 5 games into the season, and they have, I believe, they have only cracked 20 or more once. Granted, it was against Vegas. But Denver just absolutely sucks. And as for the Chargers, getting the job done over Cleveland, they got more lucky than good against Cleveland, I'll say that. But the Chargers did what they needed to do to win the game. So, with all that being said, I don't think either of these teams are really good coming in this game. But because Denver just sucks so badly, I ain't going to pick the Broncos for quite a while. So I'm going to go with the Chargers to win this game. Just because Justin Herbert usually plays well against underachieving teams and bad teams and mediocre ones, I'm going to go with the LA Chargers to win this game. I just cannot trust Denver anymore. They have lost my trust for the rest of the season, plain and simple. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers here. And that'll do it. Those are my Week 6 picks of 2022, and I forgot to read off the teams that are on a bye. Teams that are on the bye this week are the Detroit Lions, the Tennessee Titans, the Vegas Raiders, and the Houston Texans. So those teams are on byes this week. But yeah, those are my Week 6 picks, and let's hope that I can have a strong week. I got to do better than 8-8. All there is to it. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Steel Sermon checking on out for the night. May God be with you.